Ready to Let Loose is one of two new starter decks arriving with Shimmering Skies, featuring the potent ink combination of Ruby and Amethyst. Let's take a look at the deck and talk about the best strategies to use when playing it, whether you're playing with friends or you're planning to pick it up for your next sealed tournament. Let's go! As a deck, Ready to Let Loose wants to focus on a controlled playstyle, with many options to exert your opponent's characters, drain their lore to slow down the race, and using Ruby Amethyst's trademark strength to capitalize on both of these. Ready to Let Loose features 48 characters, 7 actions, 2 locations, and 3 items. For a starter deck, there are a surprisingly high number of uninkable cards, with 16 uninkable to 44 inkable. This is something to be aware of when playing. Unlike the other Shimmering Skies starter deck, a Roaring Guest list, this deck exclusively features cards from this set, so every card will be something new, and it really increases the overall value of the deck. In terms of strategy, this deck has a few potential lines of play, whether it's controlling your opponent through exerting their characters, powering up the strength of your own characters, or draining lore. The first trick in Ready to Let Loose's toolbox is the ability to exert your opponent's characters. Anna, Mystical Majesty's exceptional power ability, allows you to exert all opposing characters when she's played, setting them up to be challenged. Played once your opponent has a wide board, this can really be an ability that swings the tempo in your favour. And as a Floodborn, Anna can shift onto her Eager Acolyte version, another character that can exert an opponent character, except in this instance, your opponent has to choose. Both of these Annas become particularly relevant when you remember that a Roaring Guest list Scar, Vengeful Lion, has Ward. Joining Anna is Elsa, the 5th spirit, who combines Rush, Evasive, and the ability Crystallize to exert a chosen opposing character when played. This is a great way to catch your opponent unawares, and to take out any pesky, low willpower characters. Once your opponent has some exerted characters, you can capitalize with the King of Hearts Pleasing the Queen ability to prevent an exerted character from readying at the start of their next turn. And once your opponent has enough exerted characters, you can follow up with Olaf Happy Passenger, a huge bomb that they will have a hard time removing from the board once down, given his evasive, high willpower, and lore. The other part of the game plan is draining lore from your opponent to slow them down even more. There are a few options to do this, although this really is a secondary game plan. Taffeta Mutton Fudge, crowd favourite, will drain your opponent of 1 lore when played if you have a location in play, while Donald Duck, Daisy's Date, will do the same whenever he challenges another character. But the real lore draining powerhouse in this deck is the Sword Released, an item that will remove 1 lore from your opponents at the start of your turn if you have a character in play with more strength than each opposing character. Combined with some of Ruby's strength boosting effects, this can become a real burden for your opponent that they have to play around. And when it comes to increasing your character's strength, there are a couple of options. First is the fun synergy between Minnie Mouse Dazzling Dancer and Mickey Mouse Enthusiastic Dancer. Mickey's strength is boosted by Minnie, and in turn, Minnie grants lore each time Mickey challenges. There's also Simba Adventurous Successor, who gives +2 strength to a challenger when played. Similarly, the action Hypnotic Strength gives a character challenger +2. And with a slew of rush characters at your disposal, your opponent will have to think twice about turning their characters sideways, really putting the pressure on them. But if you find yourself in a tough spot, the action, Glimmer vs Glimmer, will allow you to banish one of your characters to banish an opposing character. There are 2 copies in the deck, so use them wisely. But outside of this controlled gameplay, this deck has some fun ways to gain lore without questing. Wreck-It Ralph, Demolition Dude, gives 1 lore for each damage on him when you ready him. While it may take a little setup to pull off some of the bigger lore gains, it's yet another aspect of this deck your opponent has to play around. And another Taffeta, this time Sour Speedster, once per turn will net 2 lore when moved to a location. Again, this will require a little bit of setup as you'll need 2 locations in play to take advantage of this turn after turn. But the good news is that this deck has a fantastic location at its disposal. The Library, a gift for Belle, allows you to draw a card each time a character is banished while here. And this location has some great synergy with other cards in this deck to create a really powerful draw engine. Bruni already lets you draw a card when banished, so if placed at the Library, you'll be drawing 2. Gale, Wind Spirit, is returned to your hand when banished, essentially netting you 2 cards, and the ability to replay it later too. These synergies really allow you to keep up the card advantage whilst playing. And if you need even more, Finders Keepers will let you draw 3 cards, filtering through your deck to find the answers you need. With a few different potential lines of play available, your opening hand will likely determine what you need to alter. Of course, you want to focus on a good ink curve first, and the deck has a generous distribution in that sense. Of course, both Taffeta and Simba in the 1-drop slot are best played later in the game when you can take advantage of their on-play abilities. And Daisy and Gale are both great options to apply some early lore pressure whilst building to your later game plays. And definitely look out for Anna or Taffeta's potential shift lines, as these could be great options to get out some powerful characters quickly. But with such a high number of uninkable cards in this deck, do be cautious when altering your hand. And that's our guide to playing Ready to Let Loose. If you're looking for a guide on the other starter deck for Shimmering Skies, a Roaring Guest list, then be sure to check out our video on that. We'll link that above. And let us know in the comments which deck you're most excited to play this set. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like button on your way out. And don't forget to subscribe, as we'll have gameplay of both starter decks on release. And as always, a huge shout out to our YouTube members. We really appreciate you all choosing to support the channel, and it really helps us improve the quality of what you're watching. If you're interested in becoming a YouTube member, you can click the join button down below to see all of the details. And until next time, happy questing.